Adaptive Dikir Barat for social participation of children with cerebral palsy, a case study. This case study, which was conducted with 7 children with cerebral palsy, focuses on understanding the influence of Adaptive Dikir Barat as a platform for children with cerebral palsy to make contributions to their community through social participation, exposure, and develop the necessary skills to become more familiar with general public regardless of their level of physical involvement. This is the content of my research presentation. Firstly, I will share the brief definition of cerebral palsy. After this will be referred to as CP. Explain the definition of social participation, Dikir Barat, and consequently, what is Adaptive Dikir Barat? After this will be referred to as ADB, and how its creative approach as performing arts will be of assistance and tool for social participation for children with CP. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I will be sharing brief definition of CP and the classification of the participants for the study. CP is the most common form of physical disability in the world. It affects children's muscle control, coordination, and motor skill. It is caused by abnormal development or damage to the parts of the brain that control movement, balance, and posture, which may occur during pregnancy, during childbirth, or shortly after birth. Excuse me. Therefore, children with CP are most likely to encounter barriers that can prevent them from the opportunity for participation. The gross motor function of children with CP can be categorized into 5 different levels using a tool called the Gross Motor Function Classification System Expanded and Revised, or GMFCS-ENR. GMFCS was first described in 1997 by Palisano et al. GMFCS looks at movements such as sitting, walking, and use of mobility devices. It is helpful because it provides families and clinicians with a clear description of a child's current motor function and an idea of what equipment or mobility aids a child may need in the future, for example, crutches, walking frame, or wheelchair. Generally, a child or young person over the age of 5 years will not improve their GMFCS-ENR level. So, if, for example, a child is classified at a level 4 at the age of 6, then it is likely that they will need to use a mobility device throughout their life. Social participation. Prior studies have shown that people with physical disabilities often experience high levels of depression, anxiety, disrupted social relationships, and negative social stigma that result in diminished quality of life. My next slide shows the significance of social participation from prior studies for children with cerebral palsy. With reference to these findings on significance of social participation for children with CP, it is found that a child living with CP has the right to be included in activities and learning experiences as much as any other child. However, for a long time, these children have been excluded from activities due to the assumption that they could not participate. Inclusion is growing as a movement. It is important because all children deserve to have exposure on performing arts in their lives and to benefit from it. Inclusion is also necessary for many other reasons, such as to promote self esteem and confidence, to increase socializing with peers, and to give every child the best opportunities. Thus, the purpose of this study was to investigate the relationships between ADB for social participation of children with CP. The study was guided by the following hypothesis, which is ADB has a direct positive effect on social participation for children with CP. Music as a form of art is a medium by which people's identities and their values, beliefs, and perception of the world can be expressed and explored. Having said that, music plays an important role as therapy for children with CP. Dikir Barat. To international guests and viewers for this session, you may be unfamiliar with the term, but as I go on, you will surely find this interesting. Much research has been done to find the real history of Dikir Barat in Malaysia. Dikir Barat's popularity made it a suitable means of disseminating information and instilling values to the masses. The government saw this potential and Dikir Barat was thus plucked out of its folk roots and promoted through the media as one of Malaysia's cultural heritage. From its humble origins in the kampungs of Kelantan, Dikir Barat was pushed into the limelight and became known nationwide. And according to Raja Iskandar bin Raja Khalid 2014, even schools and universities began to form their own Dikir Barat groups. Having said that, Adaptive Dikir Barat. Adaptive Dikir Barat or ADB for children with cerebral palsy is made up of a few tukang karut singer of the improvised lyrics. I'm going to share with you a video here just for you to have a rough idea on what ADB is about. So as I go on, ADB for children with cerebral palsy is made up of a few tukang karut, singer of the improvised lyrics, a group of about 7 to 10 or 10 to 15 chorus singers called awok-awok, who also plays the tambourine, ring bell, as you can see in the video, maracas, and in our group, pom-poms were included to add joy to the performance. Ambulatory ADB performers stood on walking frame with non-ambulatory performers in wheelchairs. They were positioned in close proximity beside each other in one straight line on the stage. This orientation allowed each of the performers to be seen by the audience. According to Peter J. 2003, in a typical performance of Dikir Barat, themes usually span a wide range of contemporary and social topics that include love, marriage, and life in the village or city. Adaptive Dikir Barat, on the other hand, tells the audience on the bright and joyous side of life, as well as acknowledgement and appreciation to their loved ones through the modification of lyrics. In the observation that I've involved in, tribute to mothers was the theme chosen, and the values behind the lyrics written was to encourage and remind everyone to obey, love, and respect their mothers. Okay, next slide. Tukang karut. Karut does not mean nonsense, yeah. In the Dikir Barat sense, it means spontaneous pantun or poetry, with reference to Halim Yazid 2007. And according to Sharifah Masturah binti Said Osman 1999, traditionally, Tukang Karut initiates response and challenges competing groups. This is important as Dikir Barat is very much a battle of wits. Right. While competing, teams have to weave a continuous stream of impromptu rhythmic verses to ridicule and deride their opponent. However, in ADB, a few tukang carrots have been selected from children with less speech impairment and not categorized as nonverbal. Instead of impromptu, the TKs in ADB were given sets of lyrics where they have to memorize and sing according to their turn. Next is our musician. In a typical performance, our provides excitement through body movements such as hand clapping and singing to reinforce phrases sung by the tukang karut. The percussion ensemble that supports a DK Barat group varies in sizes. A typical ensemble consists of two rebanas, handheld drums of different sizes, a pair of maracas, as well as several gongs. Our in ADB are also in charge of providing excitement through body movement, and they do it while seated on their wheelchairs or standing with their walking frames. Besides playing the instruments given, our need to also sing along to the Barat repetitive chorus together with the rest of the performance. In ADB, pom-poms were added to add colors to the performance. Besides, the characteristics of pom-pom is lightweight, which makes it convenient for the children to hang on to throughout the entire show. As a researcher, I have conducted observations during the training sessions of ADB and during their performances in public. In addition, I have also conducted interview sessions with the parents of the participants where sets of questionnaires were given. Information on the participants' individual rights, the purpose of the research, informed consent, and other relevant matters were also provided. Interview sessions took approximately 20 minutes, and participation in the study was voluntary. A purposive sampling procedure was employed to recruit participants who are preschoolers and who are in the early elementary school children and had been clinically diagnosed with any classification of CP. Data was collected from August 2019 and December 2019, and now I would like to share an overview of the sample study. Participants. Seven children with cerebral palsy aged from 5 years old from Gabungan Anak-Anak Palsi Serebrum or GAPS Malaysia with various classifications were gathered. Two categories of CP classifications were observed and four different levels of GMFCS-ENR have been identified. Sample consists of 43% level 2, 29% level 4, and both level 5 and level 3, 14%. And as for percentage of gender and classification of CP, diplegia and quadriplegia were observed, and 43 of the performers were female and 57 were male. Next, qualitative analysis. Qualitative analysis of the focus groups generated 5 themes relating to factors influencing participation, namely child characteristics, parent support and level of involvement, attitude and interest, community and cultural relevance, and resources. So I would like to proceed with child's characteristics. The first one. Parents discussed on a child's physical and cognitive capacity as influencing their participation in ADB. In addition to the child's physical and cognitive functioning, age was also reported to impact upon participation. Next, parent support and level of involvement. Parents also emphasize the importance of support and level of involvement. Having clear expectations relating to inclusion were discussed as influencing whether parents enrolled their child in ADB. Parents reported that some parents reported they preferred their child to be in an adapted team or program, while others preferred their child to perform in public to increase self-confidence. Attitude and interest. Having personal interest in or a preference for music and specifically Dikir Barat over other activities was seen to be a facilitator to participation. Next, community and cultural relevance. The presence of a community, cultural, and sense of communal identity and belonging around performing art clubs was identified by parents as a major facilitator to participation in ADB. The importance of belonging to an activity for some children with CP was also highlighted. And the last theme arising from this analysis relating to factors influencing participation uh, in ADB for children with CP is resources. Availability of family resources was also identified as a factor influencing participation, where time and financial limitation for families were commonly identified. For example, in my case study, given the venue to the training session, which is only in Gap Center in Cyberjaya, which involved cost to some parents, was highlighted as an important consideration. And some parents also mention that they have other commitment and they can't commit to training for ADB. I would like to share 4 out of 7 results and feedback from parents interview. My child smiles the most when talking about the ADB program. It has definitely elevates her self-confidence and communication skills. Improves emotional wellness for my child. Her body is more relaxed while listening to music and she becomes more alert with sounds around her. She is also confident to be in public. My child is so confident performing in public and practice with friends. In addition, it has also improved her self-esteem and communication with others. It's good to see her with her special friends doing special activities. ADB is one of my child's favorite activity. He is happier and more positive after practice and performances. I can even hear him sing happily in the car. Next, from this case study, ADB for social participation, it is found that ADB performers consist of children with CP displayed great sense of togetherness and great bonding, understood their roles during performance, promote culture for performing arts, increase level of self-confidence and become role model to other children with CP, and last, definitely not least, is delivered great teamwork. Regardless of their level of participation in the performance, they clearly enjoyed themselves and was able to give good cooperation during show time. ADB give them the sense of togetherness, bonding, and friendship throughout the entire time, before, during, and after ADB performance. Limitation. Firstly, given the relatively small sample size of 7, findings from the current study should be interpreted with caution and further consolidated in larger sample sizes. Despite advertisement of the study to parents in a range of settings within the community, only 7 parents' responses were recorded. And the low rate of engagement with the study is likely reflective of the significantly lower rates of participation and engagement in performing arts seen in children with CP when compared to typically developing children. Next, I would like to propose roles for parents and NGO in facilitating participation of ADB for children with cerebral palsy. For example, parents can become advocate on behalf of children with cerebral palsy and encourage more participation by modeling on goal-driven behavior by they themselves participating in ADB. Apart from that, they can also consider family resources. As well as for NGOs, they can consider accessibility for their future participants, a consideration of skills and knowledge to train for ADB, as well as modifications of elements of ADB to attract more participants. Conclusion. This case study indicates a positive association between social participation of children with CP through ADB. The results suggest that more trainings and more public performances to be conducted to determine if providing greater social participation can increase a sense of happiness, togetherness, confidence, and friendship. Based on the relationships among these variables, this study makes a practical suggestions to stakeholders who work with children with CP. More NGOs need to create platforms for ADB through social activity opportunities such as online social participation programs, community-based social programs, and social events so that children with CP can develop a positive social support system as a way to promote their health. With that, I thank you for joining my webinar session. I leave you with another ADB session from a TV program Selamat Pagi Malaysia. Thank you.